The 9/11 truth movement is supported by the overwhelming majority of Americans who realize that a government that covers up the truth about what happened on 9/11 is not a government of the people, but an enemy of the Republic. Make no mistake about it. 9/11 truth is a matter of the utmost importance for the American people and the Republic. 9/11 truth remains the most important political issue of our time because as long as the government and mass media suppress and conceal the truth about what happened on 9/11, the American people will suffer under a criminal regime that lurches from crisis to crisis, from conflict to conflict. It should come as no surprise that the American people are greatly dismayed at the lack of leadership coming from the Obama White House. A poll conducted in April 2014 gave President Obama an approval rating of only 41%, the lowest mark of his tenure, with only 1 in 3 Americans approving of his handling of the crisis in the Ukraine. But if the people being polled had known about the Obama administration's direct role in overthrowing the elected government in the Ukraine, his approval ratings would have been much lower. The fact that Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland chose who would replace the elected government in Kiev 2 weeks before it was overthrown proves that the Obama administration was calling the shots in the violent coup d'etat. A coup d'etat, or putsch, is the sudden, violent, and illegal overthrow of a government, which is exactly what happened in the Ukraine in February 2014. Victoria Nuland, the official from the U.S. State Department, who chose the anti-Russian Arseniy Yatsenyuk to be the acting Prime Minister of the Ukraine, happens to be the wife of Robert Kagan, co-founder of the Project for the New American Century, or PNAC. PNAC's stated goal, since it was established in 1997, was regime change in Iraq. In September 2000, Robert Kagan's father, Donald, was project chairman of the PNAC document entitled Rebuilding America's Defenses. This document said the need for a substantial American force presence in the Persian Gulf transcends the issue of the regime of Saddam Hussein. The PNAC document went on to say that, quote, some catastrophic and catalyzing event would facilitate the implementation of the Kagan family's plan to rule the world. Quote, the process of transformation, even if it brings revolutionary change, is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor, close quote. 1 year later, the terror attacks of 9/11 were the catastrophic event that brought the Kagan plan to fruition. The president quickly received carte blanche authority from Congress to wage war on terrorism anywhere in the world. The defense budget doubled in size, and the United States promptly invaded Afghanistan and Iraq. While the Kagan family and those who support them succeeded in bringing the U.S. military into Iraq, their success has been our loss. The American people have paid a huge price in blood and treasure in waging completely unnecessary wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, a decade after the invasion of Iraq, another member of the Kagan family has brought Europe to its most serious crisis since the end of the Cold War. Like her husband, Mrs. Kagan's goal was to overthrow the elected government of the Ukraine and replace it with a nationalist regime openly hostile to Russia. To pursue such an anti-Russian policy in the Ukraine, on Russia's border in a nation with a large Russian minority, was sure to lead to civil strife and increased tension between Russia and the West. Why is U.S. foreign policy being dictated by unelected warmongers who are clearly working to instigate conflict and threaten world peace? The never-ending war agenda promoted by the Kagan family and their ideological and financial supporters is a direct result of the false flag terror attacks of September 2001. 9/11 was, after all, a major policy coup that brought the neocon Zionist war agenda to the fore. The U.S.-led war against Iraq, for example, destroyed the most powerful foe of the Zionist state of Israel. 13 years after 9/11, logic tells us that the U.S. government and media are controlled by the same people who carried out the false flag terror attacks of 9/11. If it were not so, we would have political leaders and media outlets demanding a full investigation of what happened on 9/11 and prosecution of those found responsible. The ongoing cover-up of what really happened on 9/11 only serves to protect the criminals who are behind the terror attacks. If the architects of the false flag terrorism of 9/11 were not the real power brokers in Washington, New York, and Hollywood, we would have honest politicians and media outlets calling for 9/11 truth, rather than the silent and complicit cowards who occupy the White House and the halls of Congress. This is why we have to remember that 9/11 truth remains the most important political issue facing the people of the United States. Until we have a government that is willing to investigate and prosecute the crimes of 9/11, we will be forced to live under a criminal regime controlled by those who carried out the false flag terrorism of 9/11. As long as the criminals remain in control of our government and media, we should expect to be dragged from conflict to conflict. A government headed by criminals is simply unable to deliver peace or prosperity to the people. It is our duty as citizens to demand that our representatives and political leaders embrace 9/11 truth, not ignore it. We should tell our politicians that they have one crucial choice to make. Either they stand up for 9/11 truth, or they are complicit in the cover-up. Thank you. Solving 9/11, The Deception That Changed the World, explains how we have been deceived by the false flag terror attacks of 9/11. This book exposes how the attacks were carried out and who was responsible for the terrorism of 9/11 and the cover-up of the truth. Solving 9/11, the original articles, contains the first 11 years of my research articles presented in chronological order starting from September 2001. These original articles contain the detailed information that supports the thesis presented in the first book, Solving 9/11, The Deception That Changed the World. The two books of the Solving 9/11 set are essential reading for anyone who wants to understand what really happened on 9/11. The Solving 9/11 books are available from good bookstores, Amazon.com, or directly from the author at Bollyn.com. Thank you.